Hi, I'm Kristen with TwoSided Solutions. Today we're going to cover some of the commonly used features of your Sharp copy machine. We're going to start with the copy function, just to be logical about it. So I'll shift over to the screen here. Please note that any of the screen features that we show you today may look a little bit different than the copy machine in your office. Our screens are very customizable, and one of the things our service team can help with is customizing those screens to suit your needs best. So don't be thrown off if this doesn't look exactly like what you're used to seeing. So our copy function in the copy button allows us a menu down the left-hand side here. Most simply, the number of copies is right in the center, and we can simply type in a new number of copies to reflect what we want to do. At the top of our right-hand side menu is one of the more important buttons in here. That's our color mode. It's really important to choose this correctly, especially if you're making color copies. If we choose auto color, then that means if I have a color page with color information on it and also a black and white page with no color information on it, those pages will be copied. One will charge for color, one for black and white. However, if I do that same job and I select full color instead, both pages will charge for color because the machine will use all 4 of its color toners to create that black. So we really only want to use that full color mode for things like photographs or artwork. Otherwise, stick with auto color and you'll always be safe. Black and white is just simply black and white only, and regardless of what you put in the document feeder or on the glass, you'll be charged for black and white copies. We'll click OK and go back to our main screen here. I'm going to hit the reset button a couple of times as we go through these instructions so we don't get too many things piled on top of each other. That is the CA button, so it stands for Clear All, not California. Another quick note about color copying. Down here in the bottom right corner of the device, we have a black and white start, and we also have a color start. So those are a nice way to safeguard again and make sure that you're getting the copy that you want, whether that's in black and white or in color. So regardless of the color mode that is set up here in the menu, if I choose black and white start, I'll get only a black and white copy. Moving down on our screen here, we're going to go to the paper select. Paper select just allows us to choose the tray from which we'd like our copy job to pull. If we don't change this, it'll pull from the tray that is automatically selected. In many cases, that's either tray 1 or sometimes tray 4, which is occasionally the biggest tray on the device. You'll see on each of these buttons that we have an indicator of the size and type of paper that's in our tray, which is a really nice thing to have a quick glance at before you make a copy onto something like letterhead or someone's checks. So nice to remember. Over here, we have our bypass tray. So these are trays 1 through 4, trays 1 through 4 here. We also have our bypass tray, which is located on the side of the machine and pulls out this way. It's very simple to change the settings on the bypass tray. I can do that directly here just by clicking type and size and choosing the appropriate setting. If you have further questions about the type and size of paper that's supported by your copier, please call TwoSided Solutions. We'll help you figure that out, and we can even help you order the best paper for your device. Continuing to move down our menu here, the next button is our TwoSided selector. When I click on this button, I have a number of different settings. Sometimes they can be a little bit confusing. Basically, the first setting is the document that we're starting with, the document that we're trying to copy. The second is what we'd like to happen to the copy that we're making. So, if I have a one-sided to one-sided copy, I have just what you see here, a one-sided document that I want to turn into a one-sided document. If I choose one-sided to two-sided, that would mean that I have 2 single-sided pages, and I'd like to turn those into a single duplexed or 2-sided page. Two-sided to two-sided, hopefully fairly self-explanatory. Two-sided to one-sided would mean a single document that has 2 sides that I want to split apart and turn into separate pages. You'll also notice when I have 2-sided selections to make, I have choices about the way that I can bind that document. All this means is the way that the second side will be oriented. Just keep in mind, 90% of the time, book binding is what we want. A tablet-bound document would work more like a calendar. So a tablet-bound document would read by flipping up instead of by flipping over like a book. Back to our main screen again. We'll go down to our copy ratio button. Copy ratio is your zoom and reduce. They've tried pretty hard to make this simpler as the years have gone on, and so we have a lot of numbers on this screen that you're seeing right here, but they actually do make things fairly easy if you look at them a little bit. So we have a zoom percentage that's attached to each button, but if you look directly below it, we also have standard paper sizes. What this is meant to indicate to you is about the amount of enlargement or reduction that you're going to get from choosing that zoom or reduction percentage. So I can use this either to simply reduce from 11 by 17 to 8.5 by 11, or for another size document if I just want about that much reduction in size. Same thing with our enlargements. We just look below there and we can see the standard paper sizes to which that percentage will apply, and it should make life fairly simple. One important thing to remember about enlargement or reduction, if you are ever starting with a very small document, it's a good idea to put in the paper size before you go ahead and start making your enlargements or reductions so that the machine kind of knows where to start. Again, this is a subject that can get a little bit more complex depending on what you're trying to do. Please reach out if you'd like some remote or on-site training to help you deal with those more complex subjects. Again, moving down our screen, we'll talk just quickly about exposure. With good scanners, especially the ones we have on our Sharps these days, this doesn't come into play as often as it might once have. However, it's important to point out that we have some settings in here that still might be useful to you, depending on what industry you work in. So if I look on my screen here, I want to point out the map setting. This is really nice if we're trying to copy things like a Google map that we've printed off. It accounts for those little small fine lines, hash marks, and things like that that might otherwise get a little bit blurry in your copy. The other two I want to point out here are our photo and printed photo. So a printed photo is a photograph that's printed on plain paper, just like my copy paper here. A photo is a photo that's printed on glossy photo paper, and it really helps to resolve the kind of glare that would come off that paper otherwise. One important note while we're talking about that, I know we said we'd talk at more length with you in person about specific media or paper that's good for your machine. If you're going to use photo paper to make copies onto in your device, please make sure that it's rated for a laser copier, a high heat laser copier. This is really important to keep from damaging your machine. All right, that brings us to the end of our main copy selections. We're going to go down to the Others button at the very bottom of the menu now, and as you'll see, this takes us into an entirely other menu of options. We don't have near enough time to go through all these today, and you'd be asleep anyway, but there are a couple of important ones I want you to point out, and again, I'd just like you to remember that these exist. So if there's something more sophisticated that you'd like to be able to do with your device, and you can't figure out how to do it or aren't sure if it will, please reach out to us. As I keep saying, we'll be happy to come out. We can do remote or in-person training to help you figure out those questions. In the meantime, just a couple of quick things in here. So I hit my down arrow one time when I got into my Others menu, and I want you to notice here that we have a Mixed Size Original tab. This is for documents that you might be copying similar to a mortgage document that have two different sizes of paper, so maybe letter and legal, for example. If I turn on Mixed Size Original, then as long as I have those paper sizes loaded in my machine, my document will copy each page onto its correct original size. It will also help to keep from jamming if the machine sees a paper size it didn't expect. Your scanner will slow down just a little bit when you enable this mode. Don't be alarmed by that, it is purposeful. The other one I'd like to point out to you here is Job Build. Maybe not, whoops, not full bleed copy, there we go. Job Build is going to allow us to build a large job. So for example, if I have a 500-page document and I need to make 10 copies, well, my 500 pages won't fit in the document feeder all at one time. But I don't want to hand collate my copies once they're finished being made by the device. If I turn on Job Build, the machine will prompt me when my job is finished to hit the Finish button, and then after I've scanned all of my documents in that I need, it'll go ahead and start that job. I'll do a quick example for you here. So we'll just go back to Others, and we'll go down to our Job Build. We're going to pretend I've put a large stack of documents in the document feeder. And when I hit Start, it's going to go ahead and pull those documents in. All the documents loaded will pull in, and then you'll have this message that appears on the screen, and it'll ask you to make a choice. So at this point, if I'd like to put another stack of documents in the feeder, simply put them in face up and hit the Start button again, and that's what it's telling you to do on the screen here. I can keep doing this until I'm finished. When I'm done, I hit Read End here at the bottom, and that tells the device that I have aggregated all the pages that I need to include in that one copy job. It will not start making my second set of copies if I've told it I need more than one until I finish that job, until I hit that Read End button. So this is a really nice way to save manual labor after the fact and give yourself a nice collated job even if your entire document won't fit in the document feeder at one time. We'll go back to our copy screen for just a moment here. Last thing I'd like to cover quickly is our preview button. So once I put a document in the feeder, you'll notice that I have the preview button that highlights here. Once I'm finished making any settings that I need to apply to this job, if I hit, instead of Start, Preview, I can actually come in and make some adjustments to this job before I copy it or send it. This applies to our scan to email as well. So you'll notice down at the bottom of the screen here, I have some little icons, and one of them is a paper and pencil. This is for edit. And in here, I won't take you too far into this, but you'll notice over here on the side of my screen, I have some options about what I can do here. I can delete or move a page, I can rotate a page if I need to, and I can change that information before I go ahead and send that job. The other really fun thing that I can do in here is choose Erase Specified Range at the top of that menu on the right-hand side. Once I've done that, I can redact information from this document live on the screen. All I do is choose one start point and one end point. And now I have a little box, so it doesn't have to be perfect to begin with because I can move it around and adjust it as needed. When I'm finished here, if I want to, I can choose to apply this erase range to all of the pages in my document. So if I have, for example, a social security number in the same spot on every page of a 20-page document, I apply this to all the pages in my document, it erases them all at once. When I'm finished, I can hit my little button to pull this screen back in. I can say exit, or I can create more ranges if I want to. And I go edit end. Now when I go ahead and start my copy, I'll get a copy that looks just like the original, with the exception of the redaction that I performed. Notice no logo. Again, a little harder to show on a video. Please reach out to us if you would like additional help on this or any other feature. As long as you have a copy contract on your device with EECS, we're happy to come out and help you. Again, during this time of pandemic, I've had very good success doing remote trainings. We're happy to do that. I'll also mask up and come to your office to see you if you'd prefer that. Please let us know how we can help you make the most of your Sharp device. Thanks for your time today.